Okay, is there a minimum amount of STX required to stake to farm BTC?
Yes, so I think there is a minimum amount. Let me give a little bit background about it. The minimum amount is actually triggered because of the bandwidth restrictions on Bitcoin, right? Because these transactions happen on Bitcoin. When you're earning Bitcoin, you're actually there's a transaction on Bitcoin where money is like going to your address, right? And we cannot just completely take over Bitcoin and have like imagine we have 5,000 people participated in our offering, then around 300,000 people participated in a blockchain.com airdrop. So we can't have like hundreds of thousands of people saying, send me a fraction of the Bitcoin, and that transaction actually happens on Bitcoin itself, right? So we had to kind of like rate limit it. And the way we do this is by having a dynamic threshold, meaning that depending on how much of the liquid supply is participating, there is a minimum amount of STX required that can have a single Bitcoin address as a payment address, right? So the protocol can effectively take, you should think of that as like roughly 4,000 addresses in a reward cycle. A cycle is for two weeks, and we could take like roughly 4,000 addresses. So we do the cutoff based on the threshold. With that said, um, people can form pools. There's already native support for delegation. You can delegate to somebody, right? And when you're delegating, your funds are not at risk, right? You can keep your funds in a cold wallet. You can delegate to a pool or to a provider, and then the provider on your behalf can participate in a round. So the risk that you're taking is just for a 2 week period. You're kind of like trusting the provider that they're going to earn the Bitcoin on my behalf and then give me back my Bitcoin, right? And to make the answer a little bit more concrete, I think if you assume like 1 billion tokens as the supply that's unlocked on day one, right? So I think the total number of tokens is around 1.3, but some of them that belong to the team and other people are still locked. Let's say roughly 1 billion might be unlocked in total when Saks 2.0 launches. If 50% of the liquid supply is participating, the threshold is it might be a little bit higher. If 25% is participating, the threshold might actually be a little bit lower.
Okay, so to add on a follow-up question to that from Naveen on YouTube, why is the coin supply unlimited?
So I think the main thing over here, just to put a finer point there, I just pulled out the numbers. So I think if 25% of the supply is participating, then the minimum threshold would be 70,000 stacks if you want to directly participate, meaning that you're running your own node and you say, here's my Bitcoin address, and Bitcoin rewards can directly come to it. If 50% is participating, then the minimum would be kind of like around 130K stacks. And otherwise, you'll need to pool together to get to those numbers. Now, the second question about the supply, I think the way to think about this is, I think it's great that Bitcoin has a fixed supply. It just makes things very, very simple. But in general, like there is a question of like, why would miners mine your chain if they don't have kind of like these Coinbase rewards? So we have a kind of like a set schedule for what is the total number of tokens that will get released over time, and that inflation rate is actually fairly low. It's less than 1%, right? So by year 2050, you would roughly have 1.8 billion tokens. So you'll go from 1.3 to 1.8 slowly over 30 years. And then it will kind of like keep on increasing slowly, but it's a
Reducing
incentive.
inflationary, kind of like Ethereum?
Yes, it's kind of like Ethereum, but the rates are set. So the rates are very clear that this is the rate and it's not going to change, and it's kind of like hard coded. You need miners. It's very hard to make a change just like in Bitcoin, right? Like we kind of like follow the Bitcoin method of making changes there.
All right.